If you could travel back in time to your first year as a birth worker and give yourself one single message, what would that message be?
Oh, wow. Okay. Um, Gosh, I think I would say to myself, Hayes, do the best you can with what you have. Understand your clients the best you can, and then let it go. Because otherwise you'll take it with you, and then you just, yeah. Like I know some births where I felt like my clients were disappointed in me. In those early baby doula days, I would take that and just take it with me into everything, like my life, when it actually was that one experience. Do the best you can, learn from it, and then let it go.
I would say very emphatically, only serve people who invite and recognize you. I have wasted a huge amount of my life trying to be seen by people who will never see me.
Keep going, because I think that the journey that I've been through has led me to where I'm today, where I'm now. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy that I've seen so much medicalization. I've seen so much trauma. I've seen how it works, in a system when you don't have continuity of care. I've seen it all, and that has led me to this work that I'm doing now, because I know that it can be better. Of course it can be, but again, we are the wise women, so we just need to work on ourselves first and then support women as much as we can.
Would be that you are a worthy member of the birth team, because I think that sometimes doulas have this perception of like less than, and it's like, oh, that it's the doula, and then it's like the midwife, doctor, nurse, and like we are less than, and we are often treated less than. And I wish I would have been more confident and felt like, no, I am worthy. I am helping to improve the outcome of this birth. Like, I am a valuable member of this team. And I think it would just have made me enjoy it early on versus feel like I had to prove myself. And I think sometimes new doulas, I say we need to be Bilas more than doulas sometimes, because I think it's our feelings of less than and inadequacy that cause us to feel like we always should be doing something. And sometimes the best approach is not like doing, it's just like holding the space, and how valuable that is. And so I think I could have saved myself a lot of internal turmoil if I would have just like realized how important my role is. And I really feel like now I'm training midwives, I'm training doctors, I'm training nurses. We can all learn from each other. Like, I love my role, and I love that they love their role, and can we all just like join together and love each other and love these families together? So that would be it. So like, doulas have a really important part of shifting the paradigm.
Yeah, I think it was really hard getting started as a doula. The first couple years, I feel like maybe the first 2.5, 3 years, I was like, there is no way this is going to be sustainable financially. I would go in interview after interview, and I had like, I've been at 2 births. And it was like, you were really great, but we decided to go with somebody more experienced. And it was like, oh. So that was really frustrating. And it definitely made me feel like at certain points, like, I can't continue. Like, this is not feasible. This is not going to work. But now, I'm at a point where I have to turn down so many births, which is like a great place to be. And we also have like a really amazing birth worker community where I am. So I feel like I always have wonderful doulas to refer people to. But I think I would have told myself, like, hang in there, keep grinding. And it is, when you put that work in, like, it is going to pay off. It's hard as a new doula being turned down interview after interview. You start to feel like you have nothing to offer, like nobody's going to give you a chance to be at their births. And it can really feel like maybe this wasn't the right path. But I think if you really feel called to it, sticking it out, networking with other doulas, backing up for other doulas, that's a great way to gain experience, and just really like kind of becoming enmeshed in that sense of community. I feel like the community really raises you up, and then also you have an opportunity to gain a lot more experience and wisdom, which you can bring to every interview you go to, and then eventually that ball does get rolling.
If I could say something reassuring to the new doula or the doula within me that was within the first year, was that it's so normal and okay that you're having these emotional reactions to witnessing the trauma within the hospital system that's being inflicted on these mothers and their experience. And I would come home completely broken from some births, not all hospital births, of course, but I remember this one birth comes to mind that was so challenging, and there was forceps used, there was a lot of meconium after, and I just remember the moms screaming and she wanted it to stop, and it was a scene from a horror film for me, and there were so many people in the room because of the meconium, and the baby was taken and handled very aggressively to try and clear the meconium. But I remember leaving the room and seeing one of the nurses, who was quite young too, she must have been newly out of her residency, and seeing her outside of the room, and I held it together, and I remember walking out of the room and just going and just crying, because it was so hard on me to witness that. And I kind of looked at the nurse, and in my head she was going to be doing the same, and we were going to hold each other and be like, oh my God. And she looked at me like I was crazy. Like I was like, I kind of went to her like, you saw that too, right? And she was like, this is like, what? Like, why are you crying? And like just kept walking down the hall. And I was like, am I overreacting? What's going on? And I think to go back to that doula, to say, like, don't ever lose that sensitivity. Don't ever don't ever criticize yourself or think that there's something wrong with you for that sensitivity. It is that sensitivity that has brought you to this work. And it is why it is so necessary for you to have that sensitivity. And I think, again, we talk about coming up in the hospital, we're kind of conditioned or expected to be like, well, this is what happens when there's meconium, right? Babies get shaked and rubbed and hit and pat and sucked out, and that's how we keep them alive. And then you see another way, and you're like, that doesn't have to happen. And so even if you haven't seen another way, if you feel that inside, that something is inherently not how it's meant to be and right, emergencies can be addressed with respect and with peace and with integrity. And so I just want you to remember that if that's you and you leave birth feeling like in shambles sometimes, do what you need to do to take care of yourself and to like clear that, but also know that like that's why you're doing this work.
I would tell myself to make myself dispensable and to create support systems and on-call schedules where I can be there for myself and for my family. Because often as a birth worker, you can get, at least I'll speak for myself, I've seen this in friends and other birth workers, you can get so wrapped up in it being you, so it be me. I could get so wrapped up in that I'm the one who needed to be there. I'm a birth junkie. I'm totally addicted to birth. And to that connection that you have with the family and that connection that you have with the mom, and that can be so beautiful and such a high that you can put yourself and your physical needs last, and even your family. My beautiful 9 kids, how many birthdays and Christmases and Mother's Days and things that I have missed. It took me so many years to create the support systems and on-call schedules that honored my health and my family. And I wish I would have done that sooner.
I think it would have been have the courage to say those hard things. Tell all of those women what I truly have learned and known over the life experience that I've had, and know that when I walked away from them, that I hadn't left a stone unturned. And I think that would have really supported my feeling complete with each one of those experiences. So yeah, find the courage to say those hard things that could really make a difference in this family's life. And remember that baby only gets to have this experience one time, and it imprints them for the rest of their life. So focusing on what the baby's experience is, even if you know that you can't really change what the mama is doing, if you're in that room and you can do the best you can to make the experience as beautiful as possible for that baby, you've done some beautiful work.
I would encourage myself to just enjoy this crazy ride and continue to be open to the millions of things I do not know. The millions, I think as a student, you don't know things, but there seems to be like these bodies of knowledge that like you'll get to, and like eventually you'll know something. And I think I have a lot of wisdom, and I credit my experiences and source and God largely for like what has come through my life. But I don't like know anything. And I think that's an exciting place to be, because I can more readily show up just as that person, not the person that knows, but just the person that's seen some stuff and is here in my own self.
Mom knows more than anyone else in the room. So I think as a new birth worker, I think you go into the birth room with a head full of knowledge and wanting to share it and wanting to do it all. But I think I would definitely step back more and just trust that mom knows what she needs. And I don't have to be there with a checklist of evidence-based care for her. But yeah, it would be trust the moms.
That I have found my place in the world as in birth. And I realize that I am part of one of the biggest social movements that's ever going to happen on this planet, and that is returning birth to the family. And that I need to stay present and stay hooked in and stay relevant. And that is my dream.
My first year as a birth worker, I would say, was with my friend who was giving birth in our living room, and the midwife was late, and we knew that my friend was having a breech birth. And I had been there to take a movie. This was in the time of reel-to-reel movies, 1983. And I would say that everything I needed to know was given to me, because I think I was being guided and taught in a way, prepared for the work that I was going to do. And this beautiful birth of a 7-pound breech baby, my friend's living room. I had spiritual midwifery open to the pictures of breech birth and tucked under my friend's knee, who was kneeling over her table. So her knee was the book opener prop. Wow. And out emerged this loaf of bread that looked like a loaf of bread coming out of her, because it was the baby's torso. And then the baby was born, fortunately, very well, but through prayer and meditation and reading, we were prepared that this was the right thing for her to do. Her only other option was a cesarean, a 10-day hospital stay, and her husband wasn't allowed to come into the hospital. That was her other option. So by closing physiology from women find other avenues to live their lives, and birth is part of life.
And sometimes that closed door is the best thing. It feels like the worst thing in the moment. Turns out it takes us where we need to be.
That is such wisdom. Let's just take a breath with that wisdom, because so many listeners are feeling like the doors are closed to them. And simply by stepping into the unknown, doors are opened. And the unknown isn't a bad place to be. With our physiology intact and activated, we're able to step into the unknown with courage and confidence. It's there for each of us. It's there for each of us. We remove the obstacle and happiness remains.
I would love to tell myself
You're going the right way. I love you. And then I'll give myself a big forehead kiss. I would vanish.